Hello everybody, this is the first tutorial for the Vintage Summer album. So in this I will break down the videos into separate parts, but for this first video we're going to do the cover and the pages. So I'll tell you the measurements as we go along, but I'll also add them in the description when I upload it to YouTube as well. So for the cover, so you can use grey board, or I'm just using some cardboard packaging because we're going to wrap it anyway in black card or the colour of your choice. So the first thing you need is 2 pieces of card or grey board that are 10 1/4 by 10 1/4 inches, and then a spine piece which is 2 1/2 by 10 1/4. When I stick them down, I always put double-sided tape on them, and then when we wrap it, I'll add glue. So I'm just going to take the tape off. So I always start with the spine first and just make sure it's as straight as you can get it. And then I do use some spacers, so I'm not sure what they're called, but I got these from Cool Cats Crafts, I think. So you can just add them top and bottom, and then when you put your cover down, just make sure everything's evenly spaced. There we go, and then I'm just going to add it the other side. There we go, so that's done. And then also within the kit you get this, so I'm just going to mark off the corners where I want to cut, and then we should get a nice tidy finish when we wrap it. So all I'm going to do is trim off the edges because they're a bit long, and then we're just going to fold first and then add glue. So I always start with the long side first, so I'm just going to cut off the corners first because I forgot to do that. So where we've made the pencil mark, just need to cut the corners. And then start with the long side. So I'll try and get as much in camera as I can because it's a fairly big album. So I just bend first and make sure that it's going to fold. And then I do add a bit of tape just to help hold it down. And then I add glue. And that just helps. So nice strong glue you need. So I do use Tonic Studios their glue. I find that works quite well. Or Pinflair bookbinding glue. I also like that as well. So we're just going to do one side at a time. So I'm just going to fold that over. And I'm just going to turn it over and use the table to help me hold it down, as it's a long big area that we're sticking. And then once that's stuck, I'm just going to turn it round and do the other side. So again, I'm just going to fold it over and make sure it's happy. And then I'm just going to add some tape again, add the glue, and just do exactly what we did before. Again, I'm just going to turn it over and use the table to help me. And I'm just going to press that down until it's happy. And then I'm just going to do the edges. So when I do the short sides, I do score it first, just because you've got an overlap of card. So I score it, then I bend it so that it's ready. And again, we're just going to do the same thing. So we're just going to add tape just to help hold it down, and then glue as before. And again, I'm just going to hold that down until it sticks. And then I'm just going to flip it around and do the same again. So again, I'm just going to score those edges and then fold. Add tape and then the glue. So the next thing we need to do is cover the inside. So for that, all you need, so I would just, you need 2 pieces of card at 10 1/4 by 10 1/4, and then another piece of card that is roughly about 4 1/2 by 10 1/4, just to cover the spine. So I'm just going to cut that. This is all in inches as well. I don't know if I said that. So I'm just going to use an offcut. I'm just going to cut it to 10 1/4, and then that can go across the middle. So again, plenty of glue. So I prefer glue to tape, but use whatever you prefer. So you're going to put the middle piece on first. So just make sure you line it up top and bottom, roughly even each side, but don't worry too much because we're going to cover it anyway. And stick that down, and then we're just going to do the inside covers. So 1 10¼ by 10¼ so it should fit perfectly up to where we're going to bend it, where we use the spacers. So just make sure that you line it up right to the edge, right to the edge, top and bottom, and stick that down. And then do the other side. Again, just lining it up edge to edge, top and bottom, and the outer edge. And then I'm just going to put that to one side and let it dry flat completely before we bend it. So next is the binding. So for the binding, so I have pre-prepared it, so I wanted to check it was right first. So we need one piece of card that is 9.5 by 14 inches, and then another piece of card that is 9.5 by 13.5 inches. And then all you're going to do is put it on the scoreboard, long side across the top, score at 6 inches, turn it around, score at 6 inches. On the other piece you're going to do exactly the same, long side across the top, score it at 6 inches, turn it and score it at 6 inches. I've rounded the edges, so I find that's easier to slide the pages on and off, but you probably don't have to. See what you like better. And then all we're going to do is stick the smaller piece on top of the bigger piece, just making sure, so it should fit perfectly equally top and bottom, but you should have a little bit of an edge either side. So just try and get it central, make sure it's straight, because this is what your pages are going to go on. So again, I'm just going to use glue. So glue along the spine, and then just try as best you can to line it up in the middle. So if you look at either end, you should be able to gauge evenly, an even space. Fold it over, just make sure it's pressed down really well, and then what we'll do is stick that in the middle of our book cover in a few minutes when it's dried a bit. So this is what you should end up with. So this is the basis of your spine, which your pages will go on. So this album has removable pages. If you don't want removable pages, then just make this binding shorter and just glue your pages in so that they don't come out. Right, and then the actual pages. So what you need, and I'll do this with you, I won't cut it, but I can score it with you. So you need 4 pieces of card that are 9.5 by 9 3/4, and you need 4 pieces of card that are 9.5 by 10 3/4. And then what we're going to do is get the bigger pieces, so the 9.5 by 10 3/4 pieces. So I've already stuck one book page together, so I'm going to score 3 on camera, but you need to score 4. So long side across the top, score at 1/2 inch, turn it around and score at 1/2 inch. So let me bring it a bit closer. There we go. So you should have 1/2 inch score line on each side. Long side across the top with the scoreboard. Score at 1/2 inch. Turn it around. Score at 1/2 inch. And then the same on the last 2 pieces. So once you've done that, you need to fold and burnish. So use your bow folder or your scoring tool just to make sure those creases are sharp. So you need to do that on all 4. And then the other pieces of card that you cut that are 9 1/4 by 9 3/4 should fit on top of the glue tabs perfectly nicely. And that creates your pages. So do one side at a time so that you can make sure. Just check your pieces of card fit perfectly first. So there we go. So glue on one side of the one glue flap, unless you're comfortable to do both at the same time. One at a time just gives you the time you need to wiggle it about, make sure it's in the right place. So I'm just going to stick that, and then of course you can open it up, press down, and then glue on the other side. Fold it over and stick it down, and there we have a page. So you need to do that to all 4. So you've got 4 pages, so you should have almost like a tunnel. And once we add on the papers and things, these will get much stiffer and sturdier, so they will hold in the book really nicely. So again, just going to put some glue on. And then stick it on one side. And then the other side. So plenty of glue. There we go. Okay, just press that. Again, make sure they're all straight because these are your pages, so you want them straight in your book. And although, because they're on detachable binding, you will have a little bit of wiggle room, which is really good. So there we have our pages. So you need 4 in total. So we're just going to put them to one side, and then the last thing we're going to do is just make the inside pockets inside, and so we're going to have a pocket. You don't have to, but if you want to, a pocket inside the front cover and inside the back cover. So you need 2 pieces of card that are cut at 4.5 by 11.25 inches, and then you're going to score a 1/2 inch on the 2 short sides and the long side. So I'll do one with you. So long side across the top, score, short side across the top, score at 1/2 inch, and then long side across the top, score at 1/2 inch, and then all you're going to do is mitre your corners. So where the score lines cross is where we're going to cut, and then again when we fold them and stick them in the book, you've just got less bulk. So you need to fold and score those, and then hopefully the cover will be ready. We can stick the binding in, stick the pockets in, and that will be the end of this video, and I will get the next one done, which will be doing the pages construction. So I'm just going to bring the cover back in. So you should be able to bend it. There we go, so you can see. So the first thing you need to do is we need to glue the binding in. So we just need glue on the spine here, and then again just going to glue that in so it is smaller than the width and the height of the cover. You just need to try and get it in as central as you can, making sure that it's straight so that your pages sit straight once everything's in together. So again, I prefer glue, so I'm just going to add the glue, and then just try and get it in as centrally as you can. Once you're happy, lay it down. You'll be able to see if it runs straight across the top and the bottom. If you're not happy with it, wiggle it about, get it to where you want it. And there we go, the binding is in. Then all we need to do is add the pockets. So hopefully you can see that. Let me move, that's better. So they should fit perfectly edge to edge in the cover. So we're just going to add glue to all 3 sides, or if you prefer the bottom one first, so that you can glue it in on the sides after. And then we're just going to line it up again, making sure it's straight, and sticking it down. And then we're just going to do the same in the back cover. So just push your binding over, glue on your pockets on the glue tabs, and stick straight in. There we go, just making sure it's straight. Just press it down, and that is the cover done. So binding is in, pocket front and back, and it should bend and look lovely. So next video will be putting the parts on the pages, and then the video after that will be decorating. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.